Ever wonder if a book's worth reading? If it's worth the money even buying it? Or if it's even worth all that hype? What about a TV show or a movie? You just can't trust the internet these days. I'm Katie, and I'm not afraid to spoil the books and the movies for you. Welcome to Spoiler Alert, and I'll spoil anything. Hey guys, welcome to Spoiler Alert episode 6. Today we're going to talk about the second book of the Bell Witch series called Sacrificial Grounds. The book is by Sara Clancy. If you haven't had the chance to listen to episode 5, where we talk about the first book, Harvest, I would definitely recommend you go back and watch that one first. Otherwise, you're going to be completely lost with this one. So this book starts out kind of where book 1 left off. If you remember, Mina's parents smuggled some belladonna into her pack when she was going to leave for the Witch Woods. And when Basheba was going through their packs and rearranging things, she found Mina's belladonna. And rather than confronting Mina, she just slipped it in her pocket and didn't say anything. So the second book picks up with Mina meeting up with Basheba. And Basheba is kind of having a conversation with Mina, but she's kind of being weird. Like, she's not really engaging in the conversation. And she's making Mina some tea. Mina goes, "Oh, this is an interesting flavor." And Basheba goes, "Oh, well, I hope you like it. It's your favorite blend, you know, the one that was in the bottom of your pack." And obviously Mina freaks out. She's like, "That was belladonna." And Basheba's like, "I know. I know it was belladonna. Like, I'm killing you." And Basheba's like, "Well, I'm not going to drink it." Or Mina said that she's not going to drink it. And Basheba's like, "Well, you can drink it or Buck's gonna eat you." So rather than drink it and rather than let Buck eat her, Mina calls Candwin, who talks Basheba down. And in the middle of talking Basheba down, Mina reveals that she wants to kill the Bell Witch and end everything that they have to go through, which is a pretty big deal. So Basheba is like, "All right, we'll meet up with Candwin and Ozzy, and the 4 of us will kill the witch." Mina's big plan is that they go to Black River in Tennessee, and they go to the Bell house where everything started, and that they burn it down. Mina's theory is that that should end their torture. And it starts off kind of okay. They take Basheba's car and they go to Tennessee. In Tennessee, they start off with just, you know, trying to get some groceries. While they're in the store trying to get some groceries, the cult that worships Katrina basically kicks Basheba and Ozzy out of the store. They're like, "You're not welcome here." They have this, the cult thinks that Katrina was a healer and that the Bell family swindled her and that Katrina was the victim in everything, which is not true. So the team takes off and they go to this little bed and breakfast just outside of town, where they think that they're gonna be safe. They're not. They get chased down by a bull, and Candwin, while he's trying to fight off this bull, notices that there is a demon waiting just inside the woods for them to come into the woods to kill them. Essentially, what you need to know is that Basheba effectively pisses off the cult, and it's all brought to the attention of Basheba's uncle, who has somehow made peace with the cult. He is trying to convince her, "Hey, you know, stop what you're doing. This is crazy. Leave the witch alone. Go about your life." He thinks that he is basically in charge of Basheba, which if you remember book one, Basheba listens to no one. She does not care what anyone has to say, and she will fight till the bitter end. What we learn at the beginning of this book is that the Bell family line is dying. There's like 4 of them left. All of Basheba's immediate family have died. And the uncle wants Basheba to get married and have kids. And Basheba's like, she's terrified of kids, so she refuses. She's not going to have kids. And it really makes the uncle angry. He's like, no, you need to have kids. You need to. And apparently it just makes him look really bad to the rest of the 4 families and the cult that he can't even control Basheba, which who cares? Basheba does her own thing. In the middle of the night, after they've had words with the uncle and with the cult, a demon comes and traps the gang in their bed and breakfast bedroom, and is pretending to be Candwin's brother. If you remember, Candwin's brother failed to lock his music box and was possessed by the demon, who pinned down Candwin and tore out his teeth one by one. Now, this is like torture for them. So they sleep with their headphones in, and they try and ignore the demon, which they have successfully kept at bay thanks to a salt mixture that Mina puts together. It's got iron and salt, and I think the 3rd ingredient was sage, but they line the door with it and the demon can't cross that. While they're sleeping, the house gets surrounded by the cult, and they wake up, they see that the cult's there, and they're like, just give us Basheba, she's all we want. No one believes them. So Basheba effectively kills several members of the cult, and they all escape from the bed and breakfast and begin their adventure in the woods. Oddly enough, when they start their journey into the woods, Basheba insists on bringing the corpse of one of the dead cult members with them. Her excuse is that it will distract it. And that's all she says, that they have to cut through the territory of it, and that a dead corpse is the only thing that will distract it. While Ozzy and Candwin are busy, concerned about it, Mina says, hey, I have questions. She's like, I believe that you have this whole it thing in hand. What I want to know is what's going on with you and your uncle. Why do you hate him? Why do you keep telling him that you'll do to him what you did to the others? What is all of this? What are we involved in? And Basheba tells us a really interesting story. This is where we get a lot of background on who Basheba is and how she became so cynical and so isolated from her family. What we learn is that each of the 4 families has a leader. The leader of Basheba's family was her father until he died. And that at that point, the leader of the Bell family became her uncle, who she hates. When Basheba had her first period, the uncle was like, great, now you can have kids. He was really upset to find out that Basheba was not under any circumstances going to be having children. So one day, while Basheba and her brother are home alone, so to back up a little bit, Basheba's family had created a little house in the woods of Alaska. She says it didn't even have running water. There was very little in this house, but it was home, and they knew how to fend for themselves. Well, at one point, there was a member of the family who died, and so Basheba's parents had to leave, leaving Basheba and her brother to fend for themselves at home. They figured they were going to be okay because Basheba and her brother knew how to take care of themselves. Well, one night, in the middle of the night, Basheba is awoken by a hand covering her mouth. And the guy tries to do unspeakable things to her. Between Basheba and her brother, they're able to kill the guy. and they dispose of the body in a way where he will never be found. This happens several more times while her parents are gone. The last time the idiot who came to try to attack Basheba had a paper printed out. It was an ad that Basheba's uncle had put out, saying that they could do whatever they wanted to Basheba. She just had to be strong enough to carry a baby to term. So essentially, he put an ad in the paper like, hey, go rape this little girl alone in the woods. Just make sure that the baby survives. Basheba and her brother dispose of all of the bodies. No one ever finds them. And they also never tell Basheba's parents. And they use this kind of as a bargaining chip, if you will. As in, nobody knows what Basheba's uncle has done except Basheba. And because nobody knows what happened except him, he is never going to know what happened to the men who tried to attack her. And that could be anything. So when she says, I'll do to you what I did to the others, that's obviously nothing good. This is really enlightening in the fact that due to some of the things that Mina overheard between the cult leader and the uncle, the cult or the uncle was offering Basheba up as a sacrifice to the cult to kind of make amends. And that the uncle, we find out that the uncle has kind of a pull with Katrina. So he can kind of help dictate, so far he can kind of help dictate who gets harvested every year. Up to a certain point, but he can. Which is really quite terrifying. Also in that we learn that Mina's father knows that Basheba's uncle can do that. And that he's done nothing to stop the harvest and done nothing to protect his family from what's happening with the harvest. After we learn all of this, and we're quite shocked, obviously, the gang continues through the woods carrying this body. We learn that it is something called a mahaha. A mahaha giggles when it's hunting. And it has these really long, I think she said 10-inch long nails that are razor sharp. And it will tickle you to death. So it'll tickle you, slicing you to ribbons, and you'll laugh the entire time. Thanks to the dead cult member, though, they are able to distract the mahaha long enough for the gang to get across the river and escape the mahaha. When they get to the Bell house, they see enormous demons, and they're demons in kind of like a traditional sense. They have goat legs with a man's head and antlers. At this point, the team have lost most of their supplies in the river and left most of them in the car when they were chased out of town by the cult. So what they decide to do is kind of divide and conquer. Basheba and Candwin are, with the help of Buck, are going to get all of these sacrificial bulls that are being sacrificed to Katrina. They're going to get them to stampede, while Mina and Ozzy set the witch house on fire using a few chemicals that were found in Candwin's emergency kit. They're able to do this. They're able to successfully light the house on fire, burn it down, and the little devils end up dying once the house is caught on fire. However, the gang's never going to know for sure that Katrina's gone, not until the next harvest. So in the meantime, Basheba goes and burns down her uncle's cafe, the Witch's Brew in town. She goes and burns it down, saying that some stray embers caught the building on fire. that is where book 2 ends. I'm sorry I'm a little bit scattered. If you enjoyed this and if you want to hear me talk about more books, please make sure to like this video and subscribe. Also, I highly recommend you read these books. They're really, really good. You get a real good feel for the characters when you read them. Basheba's my favorite. She is totally awesome. Also, please make sure to share this with anyone who you think might enjoy it. Make sure to leave notes in the comments about any books or movies that you would like me to talk about and spoil for you. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.